Hello, hello. Tina Campbell here, the New York and Connecticut regional partner of Master Networks. I'm so glad everybody or nobody is on here right now. I'd like to say welcome because this is Master Networks live, uh, and we are having an interview tonight with two very, very special people. If I might, I'd like to tell you about them, a little bio. I'm going to start with Sami Vecchiolla. She's better known as Sammy Sunshine. I think, Sammy, you should have had that in your lower third there, Sammy Sunshine. She's a realtor in Westchester, New York, and is also part of the regional leadership for Master Networks in the New York region. You want to tell everybody which seats you hold in the advisory board?
Absolutely. I am the president of the Regional Advisory Board team, as well as the events advisor for the region.
So what does the president of the advisory board do, Sammy?
I basically run the meetings of the Regional Advisory Board team and support them in everything that they need in order to support the region for the greater good.
Yes, you do. That's why I was making sure that people knew what you did, because it's really important, because you don't want me running that meeting to get off and sidetracked.
I didn't want to say that I keep Tina on track, but that's really the purpose.
So Master Networks Inc. Or Master Networks, we're the New York and Connecticut region, is a local business. Well, it's actually a national organization, but we're the local regional people for New York and Connecticut. And Sammy is you think she's motivated, Karen?
Yes,
You think
100%.
she's a motivated self-starter,
like times
with
500,
an engaging
yes.
personality, and she has passion to help others. And she has demonstrated this by leading her conversations with, "How can I support you?" Isn't that nice? I really like that. Next, we have Karen Trendell. And let me just pull you up, Karen. And Karen has more than 20 years of executive experience. Impossible, because you look 18.
Thanks, I'll take it.
So it's impossible that you've had 20 years. That would be like -2 in sales and customer experience operations. She's a leader in the development and execution of sales, service, and operations, building and implementing strategies and teams for companies in the multiple vertical. She is recognized, and I want to talk about that later. She is recognized as a turnaround specialist for new build-outs and re-engineering of numerous departments and teams, and has been the driving force behind positioning organizations towards profitability. And I want to talk to you about that too, as far as like saleability of organizations. And you've had, I know from speaking with you, that you've had a diverse background, tactical and strategic, with many of the organizations that you've worked, and you have a fantastic singing voice. So if your other corporate organization doesn't work out, I think you could go out there and make a killing. And
thank you. I appreciate
husband
that.
who have a great band, and it's so nice. All right, so the reason I wanted you both to come on here, because I think you really exemplify for me growing businesses, strong women growing strong businesses, and then also helping me to grow a strong chapter in Master Networks, which is what we have as part of our networking group. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. Why don't we start, Karen? You want to tell us a little bit more? I mean, we know Sammy's a realtor, so we kind of get some of that, I hope. Or, what about you and what you're doing? Can you talk about in what kind of companies? What do you do? How do you take them from A to B to C, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, in most cases, I've come into companies, either they were obviously new, starting out, or existing. And literally just my goal was really to take a good look at the entire landscape of the organization and make a determination of, what was needed from a technology perspective, from an operational perspective, and from a sales and execution perspective. And then work with the leadership team. If I wasn't on the leadership team, I was consulting with the leadership team and work side by side with all of the groups to identify the strengths and the talents that were on board, what was missing, what was necessary, and how we can utilize some of the talent that we did have to just provide them some resources to educate or re-educate them and grow the business that way. But looking at it from two lenses, determining what we can be selling, how we can position ourselves in the marketplace, but also looking at where we're spending money and how we can be leveraging some savings there to offset expenses in the future, and trying to turn some of the teams into, instead of cost centers, revenue generating centers.
Wow. So you're doing this for, you'll come into a company, or your company comes into a different business and works on this. Is that correct?
So the company that I'm with now, we focus on, it's Anchor Payroll and Benefit Solutions. So we focus on discovery conversations with small to mid-sized businesses, and we help with their payroll and human resource, time and attendance, cost savings. My role in the company is sales, marketing, and operations. And I came on board to work with the two owners to make some modifications to drive some additional revenue and bring some new talent in, and work both the ops team and the sales team. So kind of my hands in a couple of pots with when it comes to Anchor.
Yeah. So you're not only so you're working for Anchor within itself as the organization, and then I'm sure you're helping with some of those strategic teams that are working with clients. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
That's a lot of work. Let me ask you something, and then I want to get to Sami. But this thing always interests me when I hear you do what we call in Master Networks is a sound bite.
Yeah.
I hear you talk about human capital, and it always interests me. Like, what the heck? If somebody doesn't know, what is human capital?
Yeah. That's funny that you say that, because actually Davin
You get that a lot?
Yeah, I get that a lot. And I don't really lead with it because it does confuse people, but human capital is your employees. That's your human capital. And the management of your human capital is extremely important. Whether it's time and attendance, applicant tracking, from the entire employee journey, from when you're looking for employees, when you're bringing them on board, when you're working on their payroll, their benefit, their 401ks, and really that entire management, that full suite, that workforce hub that helps navigate and allow the employees to self-help themselves with our portals, and be able to engage in benefit solutions through the company. So it really is,
it's a lot.
The biggest resource that a company has that they need to make sure they're doing the right thing by, whether it's training or onboarding, is their employees.
People.
And that is what human capital management is.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I have a little bit of a background in HR, so I'm always interested, because it was, all we had was way back when was payroll company. And I remember filling out the sheets every week, and always being responsible to make sure that the time was right, the benefits were right, people were coming in, and there was a lot of changes, and it was a lot. And now it's amazing that it's so, now it's done digitally. So that's got to be, but I'm sure you can just offer so much more now, because you can offer this digitally, and I'm sure there's all kind of modules that you could probably
there's
add
some
on,
companies that want traditional payroll. They really want that hand holding, and we provide that. But the whole digital solution, also the online solution, helps manage a lot of things that cost companies money. They don't realize that they're actually bleeding. I think we did like a quick analysis, like if every employee, a lot of employees round up at 7 minutes a day. You equate that by the how many days in a year that they work, and they could be bleeding $50,000 to $100,000 annually without even realizing it. And nobody's doing it intentionally. It's just how it is. And there's ways to avoid that from happening.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think one of the coolest parts of what Karen's offerings is the geofencing. I thought that was so cool. That's kind of new age these days. Like when you have a company that has people on the road, once they enter a certain area, that's when it starts, which is wild.
Right.
I believe they have that kind of tracking.
Sammy was
heard of
listening to me. I love it.
geofencing.
Of course, I'm listening to you. I'm
See,
trying
I
to
was
sell
gonna
you
say
this
that's really
product.
important, like, because when you right, when you do your soundbite, that's exactly what you want, right? Somebody else to be able to explain what you do and introduce you to somebody else. I was gonna say that heard of I've never heard of geofencing. I've heard of geocache, which was like hiding something and then people trying to go find it. So that's interesting. I just want to mention one thing that this Facebook user, because it's the way that in the comment section, that's Pasquale. I just want to mention that because he's always good for some amusing antidotes that he puts in here. Okay, so next I want to go to, the sunshine of my life, Sammy Sunshine. Go ahead and tell us about you.
So where do I begin? I had the honor and privilege of meeting Tina way back in 2016 when I joined Master Networks, and I say you transformed my life by introducing me to this community of people. I always believe that real estate is a very relational business, and it can be super transactional if you want to look at it that way. But I always thought you could build a business by referrals only. And this year is my first year. I am 100% personal referral, and I owe that all to my relationships that I've built over the last few years in Master Networks. So thank you, Tina.
Excellent.
I proved myself. So, but
no, I know. I remember we talk about this. Go ahead. I think I'm on a delay. I just wanted to know. So when I met you the first time, you're one of those people. Like it was like you was Coach Glow. There were certain people. Karen, same thing. I'm not just making that up. I remember the first time I met you. Do you know what I mean? It's really interesting to me. Teresa Safali is another one. It's like there's certain people. Pasquale. We've got Jane Storm. How could you not remember Jane Storm the first time you met her? She's on here tonight listening to us. And Jet's Jane McCarthy. There's just certain people, and it's amazing to me that, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, Sammy. It feels like it was yesterday, right? But also, it's amazing what you guys have done. Let's talk a little bit about growing, if you don't mind. Not only growing your business. So, Sammy, how you have this figured out to like the penny. What percentage of you think your business is Master Networks? She loves tracking. If you don't know,
I do love tracking, and I actually just recently did a presentation in my chapter where one relationship that I made in Master Networks from one referral has granted me a total of $6.4 million in sales. So that's just one person that I was introduced to that then introduced me to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And in total, it was a total amount of sales of 6.4 million in just 3 short years. So not very much. And I would say that year over year, about 60% of my business comes from Master Networks, whether that's the first generation of referral where the person refers me business, or second generation where that person then refers me business. I still count those towards Master Networks since it originally formulated from a Master Networks connection. So about 60% a year over year comes from Master Networks. In 2020, I would say about
it's really interesting. Wow. What's really interesting with that is that one of the things I know was that our friend Julia Moore has always kept, I think from the beginning, has kept almost like a family tree of, this person led to this person, led to this person. And it's really interesting because I think sometimes when people look at ROI, in their networking group, besides in any networking group, doesn't matter what, they're not realizing the return on investment from that. And as we say in Master Networks, you're one relationship away from changing your future. If you could, it's very good to keep that, in somewhere so that you could go back and say thank you to that person. Because sometimes you kind of lost, how far down the road it was with that person. Go back and say thank you. They may give you others if they realize what they're, how you're appreciative of them. But
Yeah,
anyway,
but it's not
go
only
ahead.
the
So Sammy,
referrals that they give you, it's also the other stuff that you get from Masternox. Like the one connection that was the $6.4 million in sales was Julia Moore. But more than just a connection that she's made for me, she's been such a great business coach in the sense that she's the one that taught me everything I know about tracking. I may have gone a little bit too far with the tracking, a little bit, like a few more steps, but she really taught me what I know, and I owe her a great deal to my success.
Well, that's kind of what we're saying, is that it's not just one person. Like if you could, and I think this is, from your life, and Karen, you could tell us your opinion, but I think when you look at, however many years you've been in business, how many years you've been out of, college, whatever it is, and you look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, like, let me go back to that one fork in the road that I took, right? Good or bad. You took a fork in the road. It was your journey. This is your journey. And, I am amazed sometimes if you could really look back and say, oh my goodness, like that was the twist that led me to that. Like, I mean, Sammy, did you always know you wanted to be a realtor?
No, actually, so it's actually really interesting how I got into real estate. I was a full-time nanny for triplets, and I loved working for them, but I was bored because being a full-time nanny is really only 3 days a week. I was working 16-hour days and I was bored. So I took a job as an assistant, and then I kind of fell in love with the fact that I can help so many people and have a really nice paycheck at the end of the day. So I decided to get my license and get into it. And originally I was planning on owning a salon and spa, so totally different, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And the amount of impact that I've made is awesome.
Well, that might be act 2 for you. We never know, right? So,
We'll see.
Karen, I mean, excuse me, Karen, did you think that, were you always kind of that, I think of operations people, and I think that they really are strategic thinkers. Is that something that you learned, kind of came with you with your journey?
I really think it just happened along the way. I mean, I went to school to be an art teacher. I love to paint and do all that. And I, took all the classes that I needed to take, and I couldn't find my path, and I worked for a company. I started as an admin, and I worked my way up through every organization, and I learned from every single person along the way. And what I realized was, years ago, they used to say, what did they used to say? Jack of all trades, master of none. But the reality is you need to be a jack of all trades in order to run successfully within a new business, an existing business. It's how you become an emergent leader. And it's how you really are able to develop and build good teams and see outside like a silo. And I really had some great mentors along the way. And I learned a lot of lessons along the way too, from people that I thought were good mentors, and turned out that they weren't such good mentors, but that makes you as strong as you are. So, and you get to bring that with you. So I think that it was an evolution.
Wow.
And I found my niche. I found my niche, how to build teams and find different things and how to fix and help people. And like Sammy, I love to help people. So the one thing I loved about Master Network was, although I'm in this anchor payroll lane, I still can help people with my experience, whether it's operations or service or CRM, technology development, and people tap each other in this organization. And I really enjoy that. And
yep. I was going to say just one comment about your being an art teacher. I mean, it seems to me like, wow, you're really using both sides of your brain. I mean, you have this, this mindset where you could look at something, you can figure it out very methodically, right? As operations, as you have to do, but you've got this really creative side, which I know about the singing. I didn't know about the art part of it. I mean, it makes sense. It's not like those are, mutually exclusive, but it's amazing. I mean, you're really able to use both sides of your brain.
Yeah, just don't ask me to balance, my checkbook. That's the only thing. It doesn't work. That side is.
That's okay.
I leave that to my sister to help me figure it out.
I mean, you can't be perfect, right?
Is she an accountant?
Nope. No, well, she's a financial wizard, but she's.
Okay. Well, we need her. We need her to teach us
We do.
some tricks of. We really do. I can't count. I have to use my fingers. I mean, it's really bad. It's so bad.
I know, and when I run out of fingers, it doesn't work.
But
Yeah.
you know, it's not what I'm. Yeah, no, and I mean, and listen, you know, it's like, you know, you could. There are such things as calculators.
Yeah, thank God.
So tell me about Karen. Tell me about. So you came in. We were lucky to have you. You came in. You embraced what we were trying to do. You took over as president of the chapter, and you grew it to a master chapter, which is over 25 people. And what do you think was the secret to that? If somebody else was talking about, it's not just a master networks chapter. How do people grow teams in general? There's a lot of direct sales people that need to grow teams. There's a lot of people that just in general, and some people. Larry Blackman said he can't count either, so I'm so happy. I'm not
Thank
the only one. But, you know, just give me a little, like, tell people what's the secret, if there is something, to growing a team.
You know, really, the best way to grow a team is to really understand the work that's necessary, right? If you are, you know, as a leader, you need to understand everything that needs to get done. And you don't have to be perfection. It doesn't have to be perfection, but you need to at least understand the structure and the need in order to identify the people. But the most important thing is to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, right? Because if you actually are surrounding yourself with people who know everything that you know because you're afraid that they're going to know more than you know, you're failing yourself, you're failing the company, you're failing the teams you're building. So to me, it's like you really need to be looking for, you know, those perfect, you know, the right fit, like those puzzle pieces that they all kind of work together. And then most importantly is allowing that team to have buy-in to everything that you do. Because if you are consistently dictating to people what it is that we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, you lose them. You lose the culture that you're trying to develop. You know, you lose the momentum that people want to put behind it. And people will do the work that needs to get done when they believe in it. And they have, you know, skin in the game. So to me, it's really just identifying the need, identifying the right people to fill that need, and not being afraid to say, you know what, I really don't know that, but I'm going to hire that person because they do. And those are important. Those are very important traits in a leader.
And we always say, as far as hiring, that you can hire you can hire to skills for sure, but you can teach skills, but you can't teach character.
Very true.
And that's what I always was telling my kids as they were growing up. So Sami, you have a lot of comments here, both of you. But let's see, Rob Genovese is saying, let's see what Rob is saying. Oh, sorry. Rob is saying Karen's a person of many talents. And then he's got another comment here for Sami, that you are a phenomenal business person and leader. So tell us about that, Sami. Like, so, you know, you started, you know, we started together. Did you say 2016? Is that true?
That's when I joined Master Networks, March of 2016. And it's funny too, because I was told that the meeting was at 7 p.m., which is the only reason why I was going. And the day before, I got an email saying, "Hey, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 7:30." And I was like, "Tomorrow morning? What?" So,
well, that wasn't me. That like, that sounds like bait and switch.
But it was the
like,
best.
We should do that to everybody. Well, yeah, and you know what? Like I said, I remember meeting you. You're smiling, and you just kind of you were sunshine, and people were happy to see you at that time in the morning, because you weren't like, you know, with a bad face or, you know, looking grumpy. Tell me, so you know, you've ended up, thank goodness, you've been in now an area director with me for how many years are we doing this?
2017, I joined as an area director. I don't do math, so you do that.
I mean, that was only a year later. No, but I'm saying it was only a year later after you started. So
yeah,
what drew you to a leadership role? It could have been, I know that you know, you're a leader in your real estate community, but what about that attracted you?
So I think one of
Besides,
my early mistakes that I did in business, which I actually don't consider a mistake anymore, was not saying no to opportunity.
You can't say no to Tina, though. That's the way it works.
I couldn't say no to anybody.
right,
I
no,
would
you can
always
say no to Coach Glow.
That's true.
People
That's
say no to
true.
me all the
definitely
time.
not say no to Coach Glow. But I think more importantly, like I was just so eager to take up any opportunity that I could because I saw what the potential was. And, you know, since I was a little kid, there's my mom. Since I was a little kid, I always did things,
Mom.
whatever they were. If someone needed something, I was always there. So my chapter asked me to be an event planner for the chapter, and I took it to probably a little bit too intensely and planned, I want to say like an event every other month. But
Great.
you know, it was one of those things that I didn't see a problem in doing it. And then when leadership came back around and I met with Tina tried to talk me out of the area director role. And then she gave me some challenging chapters and I succeeded in, you know, commanding the respect of the room, which is not easy coming in as a young professional, which I absolutely hate being called, but it's true. I mean, who wants to take advice from someone 20, 30 years you're I don't know what the word is, but underneath you, younger than you. So you're junior, yes.
But let me ask you something. Like you have, it's a little bit of baptism by fire, which I was talking about before, right? Like going in, right, and having to do it. And I would say, and you know, based upon all the comments, I mean, you've got Pasquale here is he's undercover, and also Maria Casada's on. Hopefully her family's doing good. Hope her daughter's doing well. Let's see who else we have. Elban Rivera's watching. He's saying hi to you guys. Lisa Perfetto is on. We have all these people, and Rick Bloom and Melanie Sessa are watching you guys from your group. But, you know, see, this is the thing, right? You have the opportunity to, doesn't matter how old you are. Wouldn't you say that? Like that if you push yourself and get out of your comfort zone, it's probably where you're going to find the success. And we've all screwed up. I mean, everybody screws up all the time. You know, we're not perfect, but, you know, Pasquale wants to know why he's undercover and how do we fix this. If you're coming into us from the New York, Connecticut members page, because it's a closed group, but Pasquale, if you go over to my Facebook page, Tina Campbell, or you go over to Master Networks Inc., I think we'd be able to see you. By the way, Coach Grow is on right now. She's saying she's hi. Chris Januski's on. So anyway, I'm sorry I got distracted by all these people, which is not. We could just call out names. Just hi,
I know. I like
everybody,
looked over at my phone to see the Facebook, and I'm like, no, don't look.
Right? I know. Go ahead. And I just want to say this one thing. Jane Storm said, I have learned so much from Sami. So think about that, Sami. People that are, you know, and we won't say, you know, how old anybody is, but, you know, people that are, doesn't matter,
it's just
right?
Like a year or two older than me, right?
You know, that
That's
you're,
it.
I know, she's your twin, right? She's your twin.
100%.
And the other one is Liz Gabor said, we are ageless and all just getting started. So let me say, what's your plans, Karen, for your business in the next, let's say, do you have plans or goals for 2022?
Yeah, we've been, you know, really kind of road mapping what 2022 looks like for our organization. And, you know, I want to kill it this year. And, you know, I want to make sure that Master Networks is part of that entire equation. You know, there's one thing I will say, that when I came into Master Network in 2019, the end of 2019, right before the whole COVID thing, it was just the right thing at the right time. And, you know, when Sami talks about, you know, being younger or whatever, I remember meeting Sami. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even look at her like someone who was younger than me. I looked at someone who was extremely versed in networking, and I enjoyed every minute spending with her. And I spent with her and Julia to learn from them about networking, because I never really had to do that. I had business that just came to me based on the companies I worked for. So this was a whole new shindig for me. And I was nervous. And I remember meeting you, Tina, for the first time, and you telling me I needed to tell people who I was. And I didn't know how to do that. I always hid who I was outside of work, and because
now look at your support. You have like such a following of Master Networks members who go to all of your events.
I absolutely love every single person that I've encountered with Master Networks. And it's why I love being part of it. It's why I enjoy it so much. And, becoming the president of Yorktown was just the icing on the cake, and being able to work with all of the amazing people within the Yorktown chapter. It's not a one-man show there. It is an entire network, an entire chapter of people that grew that and made that happen. And not one person can take any credit for that. I certainly can't. But I definitely don't look at Sami as, she knows a heck of a lot more than I do in certain circumstances. And I would welcome her advice many times, as well as yours, Tina.
And my head's going to be too big for this room.
This is your mom, Sami, right?
I know.
No, but your mom is saying, I've learned so much from Sami. I mean, that's really nice. I love your mom too. I love your mom and dad. They're awesome.
They are.
Say hi to Helena.
You know what I appreciate most about my parents is that they gave me the room for growth, but more importantly, they pushed me through the door. They were like, "Oh no, you're going to go do that. You said you were going to do it. Now you got to go do it." And my mom, when I interviewed her on one of my Dose of Sunshine episodes, I asked her, "What was the one thing you wanted to impart on me as a kid?" And it was to help others. So I think I achieved that, and I'm still achieving that.
If you look at Coach Groves, we fondly call her that, Coach Groves. She is the advisor to the advisory board. She's the growth and development advisor. She's fantastic. She pushes me like you wouldn't believe. She's great. But when I don't know if you remember this, Sami, but we were leaving Connect, which is our Master Networks yearly conference. And what was so cool was that so the three of us are in the airport together in Dallas, and we're on our way after Connect. They had room together and everything, those two. And I was with my daughter, by the way, and which is great to be able to take your kids to a business conference. Wait, it's amazing. So Sami and Coach are walking down the corridor of the airport, and I was doing I was probably lagging behind, and I was looking at something on my phone, and I look up, and they're holding hands, and they're walking down. So I took a picture of them from the behind with them holding hands, and it was so loving. And I think we had a blast that weekend.
I'm pretty sure we were skipping down to the airport.
I think you were skipping. Yeah, I think you were skipping. But how cool was that? As Coach says, a 20-something and a 70-something coming together, being roommates, and to learn from each other and having a blast doing it. Wow, how cool is that? So I wanted to talk about a little bit, is there any lessons or life lessons or business lessons that you guys feel like, maybe a mentor or that you've just kind of learned and you really want to pass on? Is there anything, Karen, that you could say? It was kind of a bit of wisdom. You may have mentioned it before. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No. I think the one thing that I would just say is, follow your gut and follow your instinct. Because I think that as, you go through your career and you follow mentors and you cherish relationships, sometimes relationships have to end. Because they may not be the people you thought that they were. And you have to follow that instinct. You have to really stand true to who you are, what you believe in, and move forward on your path. And that's okay. Because I look at everything as a lesson. We should look at everything as a lesson. And I think that that's really kind of the one thing that everybody's got to hold on to. I think a lot of people are just like, well, they must be smarter than me, or they must know more than me, or they must, there must be a reason. And when you can't answer those questions anymore, follow yourself, follow your own dreams, your own hopes, your own realities, because you can trust yourself.
Right. And let's see who's saying amen to that. That is, I'm just trying to think. Oh, Topi. Topi's saying, Karen Trendell, amen to that. All right, Topi. I see you, Topi. You're here as a user because you're coming through the Facebook group, but we love you. She's awesome. She shows up all the time. She's wonderful. So what about, what about you, Sammy? Is there something that you've learned, something someone has said, or that's that fork in the road when you decide to go one particular way that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I really think that, in addition to following your gut, I would also say don't judge a book by its cover. A lot of my personal success has come from relationships with people that aren't naturally someone that would feed my business or be a connection for my business or really anybody that I would think would grant me success. But they've been the most impactful in my life. So I would say, don't judge a book by its cover. And more importantly, every single person in this universe is an onion. And you got to keep peeling back those layers until you begin to cry, because that's when you really get to know people and they can really support you and you can support them. And there's just so much complexity to people that when you read someone on surface level, you're missing out on so much.
That's true. That's very true. When you talked about teams before. Oh, sorry, Tina. When you were talking about teams before and hiring people or building teams, another thing that I would recommend to Sammy's point, you have to look beyond the resume. You have to look beyond what a lot of people or a lot of companies say, bachelor's, master's, this. Trust me when I tell you, I had the best success hiring people who actually worked, who knew how to work, and really were driven. And that is really what I see in a lot of people in this network. Just people. It's not about degrees. It's not about that. It's about ambition and moving forward and really making their mark. And I think that you have to look beyond the resume.
And you can't really fake those qualities either, because they come out, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. True. And I also think about manifesting, right? I mean, that's the thing is, like, if people don't see it, right? Like, they don't see the path for themselves. Okay, so maybe they don't see the path, the exact path. But if they don't realize that there is a path, like, they just have to go for it. They have to search for it, right? And they just kind of sit back. I have a really hard time with that, because I know, as you guys know, I just turned 60. And it's like, you know what? I am ready for, like, whatever's next. I'm ready. Let's go. And I'm really serious about that. One of the things, by the way, Sammy, was that reference to the onion? Was that my Shrek, my reference to Shrek? Because Shrek always said, "I'm an onion."
Yeah, anyway, absolutely. I think everyone's an onion.
No, I agree. Like, I want to say, like, Maria Casada's on tonight and she's watching, and if she's still on. But I mean, so this is very early on. I don't think Maria even knows this, but we remember we used to have before, pre-COVID, we had books with everybody's business card in it, right? Mm-hmm. And I had one of our people had come up to the chapter that Maria was in, and this person was a direct salesperson, and they were going through all of these business cards, just pages of it, and I said, wait a second. I said, why are you you're not, like, taking people's cards, or you're not interested? Oh, well, what do they have to do with me? I do direct sales, I do lotions and all of these things. And I said, well, for instance, I said, why are you passing by Maria Casada's card? And she said, well, she owns a landscaping company. How can we help each other? I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I just started to talk about Maria's story. And of course, I didn't tell the whole story because that's hers to tell. But I was like, this person, Maria, is amazing. She has so much experience, and she will completely get what you're doing. She has so much influence in her community, in her area, in her, her church, everything. She's just an amazing human being. I'm like, I said, and the person was funny. They looked at me and they said, I guess I got a lot to learn. And I said, no, what you need to learn is that you need to get to know these people, and again, and find out not just for what they can do for you, but how you can help each other. And I just was like, so the person was like, oh, okay. So it's just a constant, I feel like I have to keep the message going of, don't poo-poo anybody like, oh, this isn't going to be somebody in my industry sphere. It's you don't know what it's going to be. And like, think about it, right? We've both seen it, especially you guys as leaders, because you've had those conversations, and you're also, because you're servant leaders, which is a whole other, you guys could come back with me another time and we could actually talk about servant leadership, right? And you're always giving to you're rising up the next group. And I mean, you guys could speak to that yourselves, but I think it's really amazing how when people keep their mind open, their mindset of abundance is in play versus scarcity, then just like all kinds of really cool stuff happens. Have you seen that in your groups, Karen? In your group?
Absolutely. 100%. You just wind up having conversations with people that, I mean, and Sami said it earlier. I know when I started, I really just wanted to make relationships. I knew that the business would come later. And I learned that from both of you, to be honest with you. And through that, it was just a matter of, having conversations, having lunch, grabbing a coffee, and then someone knows somebody. And then it may not be the person that you're immediately talking to that you can help, or you can help them in a completely different way other than what you're doing, which that's happened. And then all of a sudden, I start getting calls, and people are like, hey, so-and-so said to give you a holler, and can you help me just by answering a question? And then that turns into business. And I think it's just, if you keep your mind open to not just closing the sale, that so much more comes to you.
Yep, I agree. What about you, Sami?
I totally agree. I think that I know from just my years of being sold to that I don't do business with anyone that tries to sell me on the first go at it. Yeah. I always try to stop people when they're doing that, because I want to get to know them and help them understand that, I'm not going to do business with someone I don't know, like, and trust. And that's a lot of people. So I think it's really important to kind of peel back those layers and get to know people. Just like I don't expect someone to sell their home with me on the first go at it. I want them to get to know me and understand why they would choose me over everyone else. Because, you throw a rock out the window and you'll hit 5 realtors. So why choose me over somebody else?
Yeah.
By the way, Denise, we call her Denise, last name Panza, is watching. So we can say hi to Denise. So she is like the LinkedIn superstar. I always say Denise is LinkedIn amazing. But I forget what I was going to say now. But I can't believe that we have to keep having the same conversations about, people just want them. They want the transaction, they just want it. They want it so bad. And yes, I know sometimes they're in scarcity. They got to feed their family. But it's as soon as you could even ask for what you need. Like, let's say you're in scarcity and you're like, okay, I need this. I need another sale. I need, another bank customer. I need what. So ask for it. Because sometimes we don't realize you're in that space. We don't know that you're hurting. And I think that's when you've made those relationships already, and then people come out and say, look, I really need this. I need one more sale, or I need an introduction to blank. When we're all like, yes, absolutely. Here, what can we do for you? How can we support you? It happened in one of the chapters. One of the young men, he lost his job, and he told everybody during his soundbite that he lost his job. He said that he had about 15 private, chats immediately that said, call me. And through a Master Networks member, got a job. I mean, this is happening.
Wow. That's awesome.
We've had it. And that's not just the first time that's happened with jobs. It's amazing. It's happened through internships for people's kids. One of our members was willing to take a blood test in case he could give another member's mother-in-law a kidney. Yeah. I mean, this stuff is real.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think you guys are seeing that also. So anyway, sorry, you guys.
I think one of the things that
the point is.
Sorry, Tina. I know you're on a little bit of a lag. But one of the things that you taught me is not only to ask for what you need, But you also taught me like to consider the person that's before you in the transaction, who's already speaking to the client that you want to speak to, and ask for those connections, which I think is so important. Because if you don't understand who's already talking to your client base, then you need to do more research. You need to figure it out. Like Tina mentioned, for me, it would be jewelers who are speaking to young couples that are getting engaged, and what are they probably going to do next? They're probably going to want to move in together if they're not already living together or renting something together. So that's a great opportunity for me. And Tina kind of put that together. So piece of advice that I got from Tina is who's already talking to your people, and ask for that in your soundbite, in your connections. Instead of trying to sell yourself to the person you're speaking to, ask them to connect you with those connectors.
But the question, Pasquale is saying living in sin. He's so funny. He makes me laugh. That's why I also really appreciate networks meetings. I laugh at all of them pretty much, unless I'm like, oh no. Most of them I'm laughing with people because they're just hilarious, because we're joking around, we're having a good time, and we're getting to know each other. The one thing I was just going to say with that, Sami, was that, but you have to go into the relationships with, let's say, that jeweler person, right? You have to go into them, not be like, hi, I want to do business with you. It's got to be, what can I do for you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing, because they're not going to work with you. Why should they? And the other one is financial advisors with the realtors. Like, you guys should be working very close together, because and you've got also planning to make the biggest investment that somebody's ever going to do is their home. So you should be absolutely working with those two. Karen, who's a good resource for you in what you do?
From a referral source perspective, CPAs, accountants, insurance brokers, and commercial bankers are great referral sources for me. And for the exchange back and forth, I partner really closely with Julia and Julie Moore from J Moore Insurance, and she's an outstanding leader. She really, really cares about her customers, and she really takes pride in how she's servicing those clients and who she's partnering with. She's just not throwing anything over the fence to anybody, because obviously that's your reputation, the extension of your reputation. So, she's powerful. And then, of course, any business who has employees, you have to pay them. You should understand how, human resources plays a key part in managing your employees, and finding the right partner to get you there, and making sure you're covered from a compliance perspective.
So is there any particular industry that you like to work with? Just that you just get a kick out of working with a certain kind of industry?
I love the trades and the restaurants. These are employers who have a lot of turnover. They're dealing with hourly employees, weekly payrolls. There's a lot of legalities around that. And there's such a passion behind the people who work in trades and in the restaurants. They're serving customers, which is what I love to do. So I would say that's it. Those are the areas I love.
Sorry, Rob Genovese wants you to work with him.
I would love to work with you, Rob.
Well, and you'll have to have a face-to-face.
I definitely will.
So just a couple more minutes. And I really want to thank you guys for coming on, dealing with my little bit of a lag there. It's a pain in the neck, I know. But I think that, we can all say that we've been really lucky, over the past, couple of years to find each other, to work with the people that we work with, to work with these amazing servant leaders that we had a meeting the other day, just for anybody that doesn't know, but we had a meeting that was for any leadership that's coming into Master Networks chapters in the next, by January. We're making sure that we have the leaders in place, hopefully. We had 63 people there. 63 people that just, took an hour of their day to come on, to learn more, and to give of their time to be that servant leaders. And I just want to ask you both, what is being, because I think you exemplified servant leadership, by the way, and I'm not sure, I think I explained it that day to everyone how I felt about it, in that we rise up others, right? We're always doing that. We're always looking at the team, who's coming up, how can we help them and rise them up. What does that mean for you, Karen?
It's the most important thing for me. It always has been in my career. And I pride myself on seeing those that I've worked with or who worked with me and their successes. There's a girl that I brought on. She was her first, this is a while ago, and it was one of her first jobs. And she's now the revenue officer of a big company. Like, her path crossed mine, and she, that trajectory she took, hopefully that there's some slice of me that along the way helped her get there. And I'm proud of every single person that I've worked with, and I hope that I've lifted them up and given them the skill set and the tools and the leadership insights, and that's really kind of what drives me. So
and be successful. Sami, what about you?
I always believed in, we rise by helping others. I think Rob Genovese said in his speech down at Connect is a rising tide raises all ships. And I love to utilize any opportunity to create an environment for those opportunities to happen. So recently, Tina appointed me the events advisor, and one of my key components to the role was providing a young professionals event. And leading up to it, it was a very busy time for me in my business, and I was extremely overwhelmed. But Tina was like, we need a date on the calendar. So I put a date on the calendar and I put it together, and I'll never forget the response. It made my life. I mean, the response from the other young professionals saying, I needed this. I can't believe this is here. I can't believe all the people here. I'm just so excited for these connections. This really changed my business. I really love having a soundboard. All of those things are like, you can't like undo that. That is incredible. And, without Tina forcing me to put a date on the calendar, it wouldn't have happened right away. But I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to put that together and impact those lives. And that to me is what it's all about. It's all about creating those opportunities for others. And whatever I can do to help is what I'm here for.
Agreed.
But it's interesting. It wasn't about you running it. It was just to start it and then let them go, which I think you said that they're, and I'm trying to stay out of it because I'll be the elder statesman if you want me, but I just want to stay out of it because I know you can handle it.
Thank you. It's so funny because Pasquale says now do a night owl event. So that's next on my agenda. There will be a nighttime master.
No, that's him. He can do that.
What is that called?
That's what you do.
He got voluntold just now.
Oh, voluntold. You're voluntold, Pasquale.
It's like my favorite Tina word ever.
Voluntold. I don't think I coined it, but I think I use it a lot.
It was great. I never heard it till I heard you say it.
But what's really funny about that is that I have such confidence in Sami that it's not like I'm trying to dump stuff on her. What I want her to do is take it and run with it and get somebody else to be the next. Because if you know what happens if you get somebody that you're not really sure about, or they're unsure, and you're gonna it's gonna be a longer lead time, right? We all know that. But if I can get somebody like Sami just to start it, and I know she's going to find the people that need to be running this thing, and we needed it so bad because I felt like we were getting a little bit, maybe with some of the virtual calls, a little disconnected. So again, everything we need to do is to reconnect, connect, and that with that young professionals. So Karen, you're stepping down as president. Which I don't, I know Davin's coming in and taking over for you in the new year. What are you going to do with your time?
I don't know. I mean, well, it's a rotation. So it's not like I didn't like doing the job. I love doing the job, but I love also being able to allow, have people rise to the occasion. And the new group coming in is going to be phenomenal. And like we've told them, we will be there to support them 100%. I'm going to take on events. for Yorktown, and it's going to be more than just mixers. We're going to continue our panel discussions targeted on specific topics: marketing, finance, brand building. Rob Genovese, got to get you over there. And a lot of Sammy and I had a quick coffee this morning, and I have a lot of ideas about events. And Lisa Ferry is joining me on the event side. She's super excited to do something different.
Awesome.
So we're gonna grab some wine, Lisa and I. We're gonna put a roadmap together, and I look forward to leading that charge.
So obviously, Pasquale is going to lead a night owl karaoke. You have to sing your sound bite, and your presentation have to be in song. So that he's obviously volunteering for that.
I'll leave that.
One last
Karen.
thing. Yeah, that's right, Karen. You could. But one thing I want to mention is that what we're trying to do is the stuff that is happening in the chapters. And it's really interesting and successful. We want to bring it up to the rest of the group, and then potentially up to the National Master Networks organization. So please, everybody, keep an eye on what's going on in the Yorktown chapter, because we really do. If something's like, hey, we got to have this outside of just. I know you guys want to be like, the first to do it and to be like it's ours, but think about it. You could run that. You could run that.
I'll be honest with you,
level, which I'd love to.
One of the reasons Julie and I actually put our heads together to do the panel discussion was really to lead it across the region. So it is something, Tina, I would love to talk to you about. I know that those panel discussions I would love to bring to multiple chapters and even do some regional panel discussions. So
you just got voluntold.
Well, if you think about it, Sammy is also, and Sammy's also that event advisor.
Exactly.
There, so
you got it. You want to do that?
Whatever you guys all decide to do.
You got it. Great things ahead in 2022. I'm
First
excited.
Quarter. Okay, guys. We have to, right? I sorry I didn't get to do this sooner with you guys. We had, all of us were crazy busy the last couple of months and in doing our own thing and getting our last quarter, right? Our last fourth quarter together. And can't say thank you enough for making Master Networks, in the New York and Connecticut region what it is, because I couldn't even imagine this, even 3 years ago, what it's become. I know I'm sorry that I don't get out to some of the meetings as much as it's just as things are growing. But the point is I trust you guys. Like, I trust you to guard the culture, right? Because that's everything that we have is our culture. It's who we are, as I love the last thing, Vince Canziotti, and I use his quote. He says, it's everything that everybody does every day in your business. That's your culture. So I know you guys guard that and help me with it, and servant leaders that you are. So just want to say thank you so much to everybody on the call, and to you two for coming on and having the discussion with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having us, Tina. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thanks, Tina.
So if you want to, what's your website, Sammy, if people want to go find you?
Successwithsammy.com. So I think you can kind of see it on my name. If my name wasn't so long, I should take off Vecchiolla, because who wants to even say that, right? It's always Sammy Sunshine.
Well, I think I'd like to see it.
There you go.
But Karen, why don't you and anchorpays.com
Anchorpays.com
is where people could talk to you, and if you're
absolutely, and they can absolutely email
so
me.
Thank you so much, and again, sorry that this is annoying with my delay. I apologize, but I really appreciate you going through with it. No problem. So thank you all. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Tina.
I don't know if you guys want to just
good
hang
night,
out
everybody.
for 1 minute. I'm going to end the broadcast and say just love you guys. If we don't have another live prior to the holidays, please, to those people that just celebrated Hanukkah, and for those people celebrating Christmas coming up, we wish you just a happy holidays, just safe and healthy and successful, wonderful holidays for you and your family. Thank you all.